Today we are going to learn about the poem Macavity, Class 8. Macavity, the Mystery Cat by T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot, first of all, I'm going to tell you about the poet. Thomas Stearns Eliot is an American-British poet, essayist, playwright, and he is born in America and he is a British poet. His famous works are The Wasteland, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, The Hollowman Preludes. And he has composed this poem to find out the mystery that is behind this cat that is called Macavity. It is his famous poem that is Macavity. So let us learn about the poem. Now, I will read out the poem stanza wise and will give you the meaning of the words along with it. And as soon as the poetic devices come into it, I'm going to give you the little introduction about it. Macavity, a mystery cat. He is called the hidden paw, for he is the master criminal who can defy the law. He is the bafflement of Scotland Yard, the flying squad's despair. For when they reach the scene of crime, Macavity is not there. So first of all, we are going to go through the word meanings which has come in stanza 1. Macavity, the name of the cat, is a mystery cat. That means there is a mystery, some secret, some hidden secret is behind him that nobody is able to catch this criminal-minded cat. He is called a hidden paw. Why it is called a hidden paw? Because when it comes to the scene of crime, nobody is able to find out that where it comes from. There is no sound, there is no identification of the cat. So Macavity, a mystery cat, he is called the hidden paw. That means he comes with a silent foot. He doesn't make any sound. For he is the master criminal who can defy the laws. Defy means he does not obey, refuse to obey. So he is a master criminal. Macavity is a master criminal. He is a criminal-minded cat and he does not follow any law. He is the bafflement of Scotland Yard, the flying squad's despair. Despair means absence of hope, hopelessness. Bafflement means confused, bewildered. Scotland Yard is one of the group of police officers in England. So it says that even the famous detective agencies like Scotland Yard and the Flying Squad, they are unable to find it out. He is the master criminal who defies the laws. Defies the laws means he does not obey. He does not follow any law. He is criminal-minded cat. He is the cause of bafflement. The cat, Macavity, he is the cause of confusion, bewilderment to the detective agencies like Scotland Yard and Flying Squad. He is too clever to be caught by anyone. When they reach the place of crime, the mysterious cat is not there. So when they reach the scene of crime, Macavity is not there. So the cat is so cunning, the cat is so shrewd that he is such a criminal that whenever he commits any crime, he does not leave any proof against it. And nobody is still able to catch the cat. So let us find out the poetic device here. Poetic devices are certain devices which are basically used in the poems in order to beautify it. So one of the poetic device that is used here is Macavity is not there. It is basically the repetition. When you will go through the entire poem, you would find that this line is repeating again and again. So this is called repetition, repetition of a sentence. There is one more thing here that is called personification. Personification means attributing the human qualities to some inanimate objects. Like here, the criminal-minded person is compared to the cat. So cat is basically a criminal-minded creature. So this is the personification that has been used. So like human, the poet suggests that Macavity is a criminal-minded creature. So let us go to the next stanza. Now, the second stanza says, Macavity, Macavity, there is no one like Macavity. Broken every human law, he breaks the law of gravity. His powers of levitation would make a fakir stare. Now let us go word to word the meaning of these words. Now, Macavity breaks the human laws, the laws which are made by the humans in order to maintain law and order in the country or in the city or a state. Macavity, the cat, the criminal-minded cat, he violates all the laws. He does not follow it. He breaks the law of gravity, like we walk on the ground because of gravitation. But Macavity has certain spiritual powers, certain magical powers he has rather, that he moves in the air and nobody is able to catch it. So he breaks the laws of gravity. He has the power to rise or float in the air. And it is even a magical stare at his flight in the air. So what it says, levitation means the action of rising up in the air. So his powers of levitation, his powers of floating in the air after committing a crime would make a fakir. Fakir is a mystical man who has spiritual power, who has dedicated his life to any religion in which he believes in. So a fakir would stare, would continuously look at him when he finds that the cat has the power, magical power to move in the air, to float in the air. So Macavity, Macavity, there is no one like Macavity, broken every human law. Whatever laws that the humans have made, it breaks it and he does not follow it. It defies all the law. His powers of levitation. So here his pronoun has been used for Macavity. So Macavity has the powers of levitation, to move in the air, to float in the air. And this act would make a fakir, a mystical man, to look at the cat. That how magical the cat is. Even he will get surprised to see the acts of this criminal-minded cat. Fine. So you may look for him in the sky, but after committing a crime, he is found nowhere. So the cat is so cunning and shrewd that he commits the crime and he very carefully he goes out, or he runs away from that place, or rather he disappears in the air with the use of his magical power. Now let us come to the third stanza. You may seek him in the basement, you may look up in the air, but I tell you once and once again, Macavity is not there. Macavity, a ginger cat, he is very tall and thin. You would know him if you saw him, for his eyes are sunken in. His brow is deeply lined with thought. His head is highly domed. So the poet says that you may seek him in the basement. That means you can go and look for him in the basement. You can look for him in the air. But I tell you, the poet says, I tell you once again that Macavity is not there. So this is the repetition. Fine. So he says that poet that he defies all the law. You can look for him in the basement, you can look for him in the air, but the cat is not found. So the basement means below the ground. Sorry, just a minute. Basement means below the ground. Ginger cat means, we are going to come to it. So that is, before that we'll go through the word meanings. Ginger cat means coat color, the fur, the coat, that the way you could see it here, the coat color, it is ginger, like light brown. Sunken eyes, deep in the face, deeply dug in the face. And dome is elevated. His head is domed, it is elevated. So the poet says that Macavity is a ginger cat. So Macavity is a ginger cat. Why it is called a ginger cat? Because its fur seems to be, its fur, a coat that it wears, the color of its fur is little brown. So that is why it is compared with the ginger cat. Now the adjectives which have been used to describe the cat is, he is very tall and very thin. You would make him if you saw him, for his eyes are sunken in. So the poet says, you would know him, you will find out when you see the cat, for his eyes are sunken in. That means something is going on in his mind when you look at the shrewd eyes of the Macavity. So it seems as if it is brown in color, very tall and thin in his body. His eyes are sunken and his eyebrows are deeply lined with the thought, because he's always in deep thoughts of making or planning something, planning to do some crime. So this expression that he is tall and very thin, so he is able to make out the things. So as he is thin, he is very agile, he moves very fast. And the moment you see him, you are able to make out that it is Macavity, because his eyes are sunken in. And that relates to the thoughts which keep on coming to his mind to commit crime. Fine. And his head is domed like a round in shape. His brow is deeply lined with the thought and his head is highly domed. So it seems as if he has a dome, like round in shape, his head, and he has a deeply lined eyebrows, which highlight that he is continuously thinking, he is continuously planning to do some crime and commit some crime. Fine. So let us go to the third stanza. Here it says, his coat is dusty from neglect, his whiskers are uncombed. He sways his head from side to side with movement like a snake. And when you think he is half asleep, he is always wide awake. So whiskers is the long projecting hair of the cat, that is called whiskers. So the poet says his coat is dusty, full of dust, because it keeps on moving here and there. So that is why it doesn't get time to clean himself. So his coat is dusty. That means the furs are dusty. And his whiskers are uncombed. That means they are entangled. They are not combed. So what does this highlight? It highlights that it doesn't have time to do all this. He has no time to come out of his evil thoughts, to think about the good things. He always plans to do something criminal. He is a villainous character. He sways his head from side to side with movements like a snake. So the movements are, how are the movements? Like a snake. So whenever there is a comparison of different things and there is a word like, as, these words are used, it is known as simile. So this is one of the poetic device, simile. So the movement of the cat is compared to the movement of snake. So this line, movement like a snake, refers to simile. So the cat moves its head side to side as if in search of some prey, in search of somebody, so that he would go and cheat him, he would go and loot him. He is so alert that in sleep also he is found awake. So it seems as if his movements are like snake, which moves quick twist and turn. He wriggles very fast, disappears in the air, and when you think he is half asleep, he is actually awake. He is not sleeping at that time. He is still planning to do something criminal. So, this is stanza 3. Now let us go to the next stanza. Macavity, Macavity, there is no one like Macavity. So this is again the repetition which is used in the poem by the poet as in a poetic device. For he's a fiend in feline shape, a monster of depravity. Monster of depravity means full of corruption. Fine, he is a monster who is famous for his corruption. He is a fiend, a devil in the feline shape, the shape of a cat. He is a devil in a fine feline shape, a monster of depravity. You may meet him in by street, you may see him in the square. But when a crime's discovered, then Macavity is not there. So depravity means corruption. Find in feline means monster-like cat. So the poet says that you may see Macavity's devilishness in his eyes. He is a fiend in the guise of a cat. He is a monster of wickedness. You may see, he may be seen in the street or in the square. But when the crime is committed, he is found nowhere. He disappears in the air. So, this is the villainous character of this poem, that the Macavity, he is just a cat who disappears after committing the crime. So, these are some of the word meanings that I have written for you that you may go through. These are some of the new words which have come up. You may use it and you can go through the word meanings. And in the next slide, I have prepared few questions. So I suggest you must go through the poem once again and please attempt the questions. Thank you.